Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for September 20th, 2016. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Really briefly here, we do have major Fed-based events that come out tomorrow, Wednesday. So today could be more of a digestion day ahead of tomorrow's major news event. You have the Fed FOMC statement, Fed interest rate decision. Janet Yellen comes out to speak right after. So it's going to be a very important day tomorrow to see how the market responds to that news. Up until then, I would expect more back and forth action. But one thing I would watch is continue to watch the July 27th FOMC level. That's 2158 half here. If price comes into that zone here, and there is a failure to see acceptance at or beyond that area, I think any push this way could be a fantastic selling opportunity for the next MCV below, which is 2075 half. So it could be a significant sell-off here if, for example, say after the Fed interest rate decision tomorrow, price pops up a little bit here, can't find acceptance. I think that would be a quick selling opportunity for the next wave down. So keep that in mind. Any acceptance above 58 half would suggest a squeeze to new highs and into 2200. All right, let's take a look at the intraday time frame. Just really briefly on the intraday time frame, again, because we could have some two-way trade here heading into the upcoming session, here is the profile over the last 5 sessions. Here's the profile over the intraday trading today. You can see it's very tightly coiled here so far over the last 2 sessions here. So we could see further action at the edges of this range. Here's the top. We could see rejection back down. Here's the bottom of yesterday's range. We could see rejection back up. So it could be a fade the edges type today, so you have to be very careful and pick your spots. All right, let's take a look at crude oil here. Here's crude oil. Looking at the daily time frame with the PivotBoss pivots, one thing you'll notice here, here it is that price rejected off of the pivot range yesterday right here. This is something I had our traders watching for 2-day highs, and we had the rejection at 2-day highs. That usually implies a retest of the previous lows. That didn't happen yesterday, but it is happening here as we speak, and that's exactly what we were looking for. Basically, if you push higher into the pivot range in a lower value relationship, bears are going to want to defend, and you're going to want to test those lows. So we were looking for more weakness into the next level down, which could be 43s, 4260s. But if we come into this area, bulls want to defend it and return it back up. If there's any failure to hold above 43s, that could be significant, and we could be looking at a significant sell-off back toward previous lows. So 43 is very important down to 4260. Price could test that area, but closing back above 43s would be important for the day. Otherwise, we could be looking at a significant move ahead. All right, let's take a look at the intraday now. On an intraday basis here, what you'll see is price so far being offered at the previous sessions and the previous week's close. There they are, previous sessions close here, previous week's close here, both being offered multiple times so far today. You have VWAP starting to curl downward here. Pullbacks could be selling opportunities short term as we test the edges of the range. Remember, 43 is going to be very important, and 4260 down below is also important. At some point, you want to see bulls come in and defend off of 43s or just below and return prices back up toward 44s. Otherwise, again, failure to hold 43s could be significant. Let's take a look at gold futures here. There's gold. Let's bring up a daily time frame. Right here, what you'll notice with gold is that price continues to hold near the lower boundary of its trading range. Not quite 1306 just yet, but we are getting there. We also have a lower value relationship. You can see price pushing into the pivot range and being defended so far. So right now, this favors bears looking to push prices into 1306 or lower. You do have 3-day highs, 1, 2, and then the developing 3rd day here. So above 1322s, for example, 1322 half could squeeze very nicely back to 1352. So above these 3-day high squeezes for 30 handles perhaps. But right now, the early idea is that we dip a little bit lower, and then perhaps bulls want to return prices back up. Failure to hold 1300 would be significant, especially closing below it. That could open up a quick move back to VPOC or MCV down below at 1247s. Lastly, let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ right now, you can see very different than the ES. Price bounced off of this low, came back to the midpoint, and while the ES is still holding in the lower portion of the trading range, the NQ closed above the midpoint and rallied to new highs. So that push to new highs was very important. What I told the trading room and also in the previous pre-market report was this minor rejection here could be very important and could swing prices right back toward 47.58 and the midpoint of the range at 47.32. So we could be looking at a swing move downward. If this is a rejection day, then you want to follow the midpoint of that range over, and you want to follow previous resistance prior to that rejection day over. And that gives you a little zone right here to watch as a rejection point. So right now, basically, bears are defending the midpoint of this range, which is basically 48.12. The high of the day right now is 48.13. So you can see basically they're defending up to about 48.20. So that's a zone right now. It's a very large zone, larger than we would usually like, but it's a zone right here, 48.12 to 48.20, where bears want to defend over the next day or two for a shot at seeing that move downward. If there's any acceptance above 48.20 or the previous week's high here, that would imply that this thing may come up and try to retest highs. So right now, bears are looking to defend for a shot at returning prices to 47.58 and 47.32, especially if price cannot get back above 48.20. Okay, so looking at the intraday time frame now, what you'll see right here, 48.20, 48.16, that's the previous week's close. 48.20 is here. The midpoint of the previous session is right where closing VWAP is, 48.12. So there's a big zone of resistance here, big confluence of resistance. Price could continue to push into that area multiple times today, but again, unless price can get above 48.20, bears are absorbing that area for a shot at pushing prices downward. So 48.20 continues to remain the major pivot heading into the rest of the day. Again, today could be a choppy back and forth type of day. Look to fade the edges. Look to pick your spots. Be patient as we head into FOMC tomorrow. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.